Welcome, everybody, to the third round podcast. This is Megan, your host. I have a very important episode for you today. Today, we're going to talk about laboratory testing, and we're going to talk about it from a few different angles. So, uh, let's get started. Because for a long time, I lived in persistent fatigue. Okay. I struggled to concentrate and I noticed unusual weight changes. I find it personally, I have a really hard time losing weight no matter what I do. Okay. I trained for a marathon in 2018 and the last 10 pounds that I wanted to take off, 160 to 150, I could not do. And when I tell you that I spent 2 hours every day at the Y and I ran 5 miles every morning at minimum, that was my daily routine and I was maintaining my weight. So I struggle any way, shape, or form with weight loss. So um but like little did I realize that these weren't just random symptoms, right? They were part of a larger metabolic problem and a larger metabolic pattern. So, with a decade of experience in public health and as a public health microbiologist, and more than 15 years now dedicated to my own health and wellness, I've been to the top of the mountain. I've run the Boston Marathon and I've lost 80 pounds twice. But this is the third round. The third time I've had to take off a significant amount of weight because I let myself blow back up. Crucially, a previous gestational diabetes diagnosis uh, left me predisposed to this diagnosis. Um, Yet I could have avoided it. I could have taken that as my sign, right? But no, I had to wait and I had to keep going down the same path that I was on in order to reach this diagnosis here of pre-diabetic. Okay. So through this podcast, I want to share with you guys my personal experience. Okay. I want to explore the crucial roles that comprehensive laboratory testing and proactive healthcare management can have on your overall health. So, today we're going to discuss some specific tests, financial considerations, and how to navigate the healthcare system to empower your health. All right. So, with that said, let's start by talking about why proactive health management is so vital. When I reflect on what I call the third round, I realize it isn't just about the physical weight on the scale, right? It's about the mental and metabolic cycles. It is exhausting how they cost me over and over again, these repetitive cycles. It's just too much. So for many of us, especially those with a history of gestational diabetes, um, the past diagnosis functions like a biological early warning sign, right? That predisposition isn't a destiny, but it does mean we need a higher level of vigilance to avoid long-term complications like prediabetes, where I'm at today. We have to shift our mindset from being reactive, only trying to fix a problem once it shows up, which is what most of our healthcare system is centered around, to being proactive, where we manage our health to prevent the problem from existing in the first place, which is not how our healthcare system currently functions. So, from that perspective, and as a microbiologist, I see a major flaw in how we currently track health. The normal ranges, trap, like there's like who decided what was normal? I just like to know that. Um, Standard normal lab ranges, okay, are often based on broad population averages rather than what is optimal for your personal specific health, okay? So, for example, your standard fasted glucose can remain perfectly normal even while your insulin is working overtime behind the scenes to compensate for it. Okay. This is why when you go in and you do your fasted blood draw on your routine annual lab tests, you may never have an indication that you have like insulin resistance building in your system, right? Because they're not testing insulin, they're testing your glucose. And even though you are becoming insulin resistant, you are still able what your pancreas is doing is working double time. It's making way more insulin to try to compensate for the fact that your cells are no longer receptive to insulin as their receptor sites have just become, you know, non-specific. They don't care. They don't want you to bind. They don't want insulin to bind to the cells. And so they just stop allowing insulin to store the glucose in the cells. So, what does that mean? Okay, that means that your annual laboratory tests are kind of failing you. They're failing you because they are not giving you all of the information. Okay, so if you want to be proactive about your health and you think that maybe you may be on the verge of a pre-diabetic diagnosis like myself, here's the thing. Like I said, this could have been building for years. Usually it's about 5 to 10 years that this has already been building in your body, right? But you had no idea because the doctor's not looking at it. Like they're looking at the glucose, it looks fine. But I bet you if they looked at the glucose in relation to your insulin levels, they would see a whole different picture. And this is where I'm advocating for proactive healthcare, in that I want you to go to your doctor and I want you to make it known that you would like to have this extra test done. They now have the ability to test for insulin, and it's a way better biomarker for what your current metabolic state is than the current testing that is done just solely on glucose and the calculated A1C levels. Okay. So, where does that leave us? Because, like, I know how frustrating it is to feel off and only have a traditional lab report tell you that everything's okay, right? Everything looks fine. That gap between clinical data and our lived experience is exactly where we need to dig deeper. This is where we need to push and advocate for ourselves. The doctor is not going to do that for you. They don't get paid extra to run extra tests, right? So, what is the actionable next step for you? Okay. It starts with a power couple of testing the fasted glucose and fasted insulin together. Okay. You need both. When you have both numbers, you can calculate your HOMA-IR, which gives you a clear picture of your overall metabolic health. Okay. And when you speak with your physician, recommend using language like, I would like to establish a baseline for my metabolic health. Okay. Can we add a fasted insulin test to my standard metabolic panel so we can look at the relationship between my glucose and insulin levels? That is a simple way to sound like you absolutely know what you're asking for and why, right? So they will have little to push back about if you come to them with the exact phrase that you like advocating for yourself, okay? Oh, excuse me. Ah, that's going to be bad audio. Uh we have to have bloopers. They do the best in the clips. uh but if you meet resistance, okay, explain that you are tracking long term, like you're tracking long term trends because your history, right? Because at the beginning, I said, if you already had gestational diabetes, if you didn't, but you're concerned, you can also just be like, I'm concerned and I would like to establish a baseline for the long term so we can start getting this under control now versus when I've already got a pre-diabetic diagnosis, right? So, of course, like true clarity requires looking even broader, right? Environmental stressors like exposure to mold can trigger inflammatory responses that quietly disrupt your metabolism, okay? And I can't remember the specific statistic right now, but it is a large amount of people that are currently affected by mold that don't even know that they have a mold problem. Okay. They just have, they're just sick. They're fatigued. They don't feel well. And they've tried everything and all their markers are coming back regular, right? But something's still off. And that's something maybe mold. So this is another place where I want you guys to advocate for yourselves. Um, and while I'm not affiliated with any specific uh, testing companies or anything like that, I've found through my own exploration functional health. Now, they provide some of the missing puzzle pieces that the traditional laboratory panel that you get at your doctor's office just doesn't have. Okay. And they also provide world class doctors to help you to work through all the test results and figure out a specific to you actionable plan to move forward to better your metabolic health. Okay. Again, not affiliated. It is something that I would like to do here in the coming months. It is $365. That means $1 a day for an entire year to get 2 blood panel draws done 6 months apart. So that's a great way to keep track of how you're progressing. And I think for $365 to get like a world class physician and all the whole panels of test, like the comprehensive panels of testing done to see where you were at is actually an incredible price. So I'd urge you to go check them out. Do your own exploration, do some Googling, try to find something that works for you if that's not something that works for you. But these are the things that I am personally looking into, and I just want to share with y'all. Um, so, and I'm aware that comprehensive testing can be expensive and it often isn't covered by insurance, but that's why functional health is so special because they don't $365 and you get all that. So if you're on a budget though, and you can't do the functional health route, you just want to prioritize these specific tests. Okay. If you can't do that, what you really need to prioritize is your fasted insulin and your fasted glucose. Okay. Those two numbers, like I said, give you your HOMA score, and your HOMA score will tell you where you are on the spectrum of metabolic disease or metabolic dysfunction, I guess it would be referred to as. Um, but But I want you to stop and think about this real quick. I mean, if for $1 a day, okay, which is way less than the, I'm sure, $5 plus $7 now, probably with inflation, coffee that you buy every day before work. If you just maybe cut that out for a couple days out of the month, you would have enough money to go ahead and get those full panels done with functional health. But say you don't want to do that, okay? Like that's fine. But just remember, it's an investment in preventing a much higher financial and physical cost long term, okay? Because the cost long term are chronic illnesses and autoimmune disorders, possibly even cancer, because it has been kind of proven now that cancer is being caused by the mitochondria, not the nucleus. Mitochondrial dysfunction is what is causing cancer to grow. And the amount of sugar we consume as Americans is so outrageous. And it just baffles my mind. But that in and of itself is just like incredible to me. There was a doctor, I'm not sure what his name is off the top of my head. He did an experiment, and he took two cells, and he took the nucleus of one that was a cancer cell, and he put it into a healthy cell, just transferred the nucleus over. Now you would expect that that cell would now have cancer, but it didn't. Crazy, right? But when he took the mitochondria from a cancer cell and put it into a healthy cell, that cell got cancer. So that, to me, demonstrates that it is in fact a metabolic disease. It is coming from mitochondrial function. It is coming from the fact that and so you can starve that out. You can starve that out. You can fast that out. Literally. Okay. Don't give it its fuel source. What it's looking for is glucose. Don't give it glucose, and you can starve out the bad cells. They won't replicate. They will die off. Autophagy will take care of them. Apoptosis will take care of them. Like our bodies are like these incredible machines, and they know which cells are bad. Your body knows where it needs to cut the dead weight. Okay. So when you go into a fasted state, especially for longer than, I think it's 24 hours, your body begins to identify those bad cells, and it takes them out, gets rid of them. Because what we don't want is these bad cells to spread and replicate, right? Because it will replicate, the bad cell, until you starve it of its food source, and then your body takes over. It says, "Oop, that one doesn't have the right code," right? So we're just going to get rid of it. And so our bodies are amazing, okay? And if you want to improve your health, stick with me. This is, again, not perfection, okay? This is progress every day. We are going to continue those micro habits, and I hope you have established one micro habit like myself. My micro habit that I am working on every single day is ensuring that I do my job every day, which is coming to you guys, bringing you the content, what I am learning about, what I want to share about, things I already know. And I just want to be here to help anybody who is looking for a little bit of help to stay accountable, who may not understand these concepts, right? These are not widely discussed topics. These are not things, they are things you learn at school, but they're not things you learn at school. They're things I learned at school, but I also went to school and I got a degree in biology. So I learned a lot more than your average bear. And the cancer thing has really rocked my soul, because my mom died of breast cancer in 2012. And talk about feeling like you were the most helpless person on the planet. You're fresh out of college. You have a degree in biology. You took cancer biology as one of your courses. You know how cancer works. You understand all of the concepts, and there's still nothing you can do. There's still no way to help. And you just feel so helpless. And that's exactly how I felt when my mom passed away. Just helpless. Like I couldn't do anything. But I felt like I should be able to do like something, which I know is crazy and it's not fair to myself, but was how I felt at the time. Now I just see it as, that was life. That was what God had decided for her fate, unfortunately. And unfortunately, she wasn't very good at taking care of herself. She is the reason too why I am here today. There's many reasons why we're on the third round, but one of them is definitely my mother. She was never able to get a grip on her health. She would start things and never finish them. And I have that bad habit myself, but not as far as my health has been concerned over the years. When it came down to it, I would buckle down and I ran a marathon. And after gaining 80 pounds in 2015 with my daughter, I turned around and in 2017, I lost all that weight and ran the Boston Marathon in April of 2018. Okay. I hadn't run a mile when I started training for that marathon. I hadn't run a mile in 2 years until I started training for that marathon. Yeah, I have this incredible mental fortitude when it comes to my health to get back on the horse. And I hope you get on with me because it takes support. It takes a lot of mental capabilities. It's a lot of mental. It really is. It's not even so much it's mental. It's mental. And I am learning some tips and tricks that I want to share with you guys in the next episode about how we can take that, what you would probably consider to be a detriment. Myself personally, I do consider it to be a detriment, is my mental capabilities sometimes. I tend to the negative. And you are what you think. And I know that. And I know that from many years of listening to Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and Jay Shetty and friggin' Stephen Bartlett, like all the people that I love to listen to inspire me every day. And sometimes I cannot muster up for myself the ability to stay positive. But I'm doing better. I'm working on it. Is a work in progress. And with you guys out there, my fellow third rounders, I think I can get back on the bandwagon. I think I have a calling here. I think God keeps bringing me back to health and wellness and taking care of myself to spread my knowledge to the people. And no matter how hard I try, I seem to keep ending up back in the same kind of situation. And this time we're going to make it stick. We're going to make it stick and we're going to help you make it stick. That is my goal. Okay. That is why I'm here. I'm here to help y'all to make it stick because I know how hard it can be. I've been on both sides of the mountain. I've been up the mountain and I've fallen flat on my fucking face and rolled down the goddamn hill and got back up and pushed that rock all the way the fuck back up that mountain. Okay. And then fell again on my face and rolled back down the hill. This time, we're going to push it back up that mountain and we are not going to stop. For the life of me, I'm not going to stop because it is too important. It is too crucial. I am getting too old and I would like to be alive for my kids. Okay. I'm an older mother. I didn't have my kids and I started at 30 and I had my last kid at 36. So I'm going to be an old mom and I want to be able to run around with my kids and enjoy my kids and be there. And if I am on the same track as my mom, if I don't take care of myself, I will be dead in 10 years. She died at 51. I'm 41 now. So that being said, this is crucial. This is crucial to me. And so I hope you'll join me and I hope you enjoy this podcast and I hope you enjoy the information I bring to y'all. And as we wrap up today, I just want you to remember that your health is a continuous journey. Sometimes it'll be up, sometimes it'll be down. Okay. But taking the proactive steps like advocating for yourself with your doctor to get glucose and insulin tests can make a profound difference in your long-term well-being. And don't be discouraged by challenges, okay? Explore what's possible and prioritize yourself today. Thank you for joining me. My name is Megan, and this has been the third round.